So I wanted to create another video, and this is more out of just a desire to be helpful, really, at this point than it is anything else. And this is just to discuss a singular idea that I see come up over and over and over again, and it's something that has an easy explanation to me. And that's just basically because I am who I am, but not everybody else can understand that, and I can appreciate that. So, what the terms I've heard over and over and over again, and I really want to pay attention to it because it's on this Department of Homeland Security memo, is the idea of a false narrative. Now, okay, so here's the idea of a false narrative. The left keeps saying, well, they follow this false narrative, and the right keeps saying fake media, false narrative. Okay, so the truth is that all of the narratives are false. So the only narrative that actually really matters is the one that the judge looks at between those two perspectives, and then the judge decides what the truth is. That's how our courts work. That's how things work. So when people say false narrative, what they mean to say people who disagree with me. Yeah, well, people disagree. That doesn't make their narrative false. You're labeling their narrative as invalid immediately. Here's the thing about it. All perspectives matter. It's not just one perspective or another. And when you say that that's it's false, a false narrative, you're saying what you're saying isn't true. Only what I say is true. What you're saying isn't true. Only what I say is true. What you're saying isn't true. This is one group of people putting their perspective above another group of people, saying my perspective matters more than your perspective matters. Now, as far as psychology is concerned, that is just it's considered abusive for one person to put their perspective above the other person's perspective. That's considered dominant. And it's considered dominant and abusive. So anybody who uses that language, saying false narrative, that's dominant and abusive behavior is what that is. They're just showing you they're dominant and they're abusive, and they're saying that what they believe is more important than what you believe. It's the judge that decides what the truth is. The two common areas between those perspectives, a judge decides where the truth is at. That's the only idea where there's a true narrative involved. That's how we determine truth. And see, a lot of people around us forget these things. They don't understand these things. So I wanted to take a minute and talk about the false narrative, because the simple fact is they're all false narratives, and there's no such thing as a false narrative. You know, when a judge says something, so for instance, my ex-wife says, I didn't slander you. I say you did slander me. We get the judge involved. The judge hears the evidence. The judge comes back and says whatever. If I say, well, I disagree with what the judge says, it doesn't matter whether I disagree with it or not. The judge defined the truth. That's just how it is. That's just how our system of justice works. So everybody wants to be right, is what it all boils down to. And when people start talking about the false narrative, what they're saying is, I'm right. Your opinion is bad. From the very first word, false, not correct. No, that's not true at all. There's not one perspective. There's 8 billion of them.